Office, your podcast for business intelligence. This podcast is supported by Wise and by Oficina Tuya, more than a CRM. Details down there in the description. And we are going to talk about many interesting things today, and you are going to stay until the end, and you will for sure hit the like button and subscribe to this channel 305 Office Business Intelligence today with Tad Duval. Thank you very much for being there. How are you today, Tad?
I'm phenomenal. I feel good. I had a full night's sleep. I prepared myself to have a great conversation with lots of energy. So we're ready to go.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna talk about the hype on technology. What is going on with the AI agents, the AI hype? More than that hype on this technology, how we can apply practice, because we talk so much, we hear every day talking, oh, what, oh, the AI, oh, what's going on, and they are eating our jobs and everything is changing and so on. But how we can apply in our case and in our companies, how we can take advantages of these changes, and the human side, the valuable things. So how we're gonna round today in our podcast. We're gonna talk Miami for sure. We're in Miami, hub for technology. We are going to see how can we leverage our knowledge. We have master class with Tad Duval as well. Master classes. We have many things going on in your perspective of technology. Tad, thank you very much and welcome.
Yep.
How was this beginning? How you began your company CMD Common Labs, and how was that?
Yeah. So I have lived here in Miami a total of 29 years, going on 30 years. I'm 36. So there was a couple years where I lived in Chicago because I went to school, but I pretty much lived in Miami for most of my life. I was born in Paris, but I moved here when I was three. So let me do the math. So I was 3 years old when I moved to Paris. So I went to school for about 6, 7 years. So I've lived in Miami, actually, like, take that back, about 27 years, not 29, but close to 30. So I've lived here 27 years of my 36 years on Earth. So I've seen the growth of the city because the city has grown in a number of dimensions, but definitely the tech scene is starting to become more prominent. I guess you would say it was very niche for many, many years, but it's starting to become even more of a force. And my company was started in 2017. I grew up on Miami Beach and I had a neighbor. He was literally my next door neighbor. Well, he lived across the street from me. So there was the house that I grew up in with my family. And then there was a street. And across the street was this guy. He was also a programmer. And my mom was telling him that I was studying computer science in college because I was in Chicago in, I went to school in Chicago from 2008 to 2014. And then I was studying a number of things. I was studying music in university. That was my original trajectory in life. I was going to be a musician. Halfway through my college studies, I was like, a couple different things happened. I had some injuries to my arm, and long story short, I wasn't able to play the same way. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to do some other things. So I started teaching myself how to program, and I started reading a lot about different topics about technology. So I started teaching myself how to code and this type of thing. And when I graduated, I still make some music. I made some music when I graduated immediately. I
That's
joined
that's
a
great.
band.
I play the guitar too.
Yeah,
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 I
music.
play the guitar and I sing. I was in a jazz club here in Miami.
Yeah, music is incredible, you know. So music is a lot of fun. So anyhow, I initially got more traction with programming around, 2014, 2015. This is pre AI, right? AI kind of boomed and took off in like maybe like 2022, 2023 from my recollection, but 20 you're talking 2014, 2015, 2016. This is like the market still relied on human programmers. So the demand was insane as far as like the job market during this time for programmers. Very easy to get a job. Is different now because we have AI that can code. Companies are looking at it as, why are we going to hire this mediocre or average programmer, right? When we could just outsource that work to an AI for a hundredth of the cost. You know, the AI can frequently do it way better than a human would do it, right? So, anyhow, to rewind around, 2015, 16, 17, that's around the time when I started my company. And it was a neighbor who referred me to a client that was asking him to do some work, and he didn't have any bandwidth. So my mom was telling him, throughout all of these years that we were living across the street from each other, my mom was like telling him about what I was studying, and I was learning computer programming. And then, long story short, he put the dots together and he's like, okay, let me see if this guy across the street can do this job for this guy who was asking him to do some work that he couldn't handle. And I incorporated a company based on that contract. So someone was asking him to build an MVP for a platform that involved using very, very simple video games to teach kindergarteners and first graders how to add and subtract and very basic concepts. So I built the MVP. It was a web application that used interactive animations to teach little kids how to add and subtract and multiply and recognize shapes and do multiple choice questions and stuff like this. So I worked on that, and that was like a $75,000 contract. So it was enough money to incorporate a company. So I incorporated a company in 2017, and then since then we've been keeping it alive. And to this day, it's still operating company, and that company is called Command
That
Lab.
yeah, that's a great story and the evolution and how you also get started with a company with your first client and then you go ahead forward. No, it's so important to get into that and get the right relationships. How was the part on the relationships on your side as an entrepreneur? How important is that, and how was your experience on that relationships and more here in Miami in the community?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a perfect example of a relationship leading to business, right? So I would say like a good life strategy is like, okay, like build good relationships with great people that you really admire and respect, and build deep relationships, and that should lead to business, if you're surrounding yourself with good people. So this is a perfect example of that. A lot of it had to do with forces that, thankfully, or for whatever you want to call it, divine intervention. This was a guy that just happened to be my neighbor, right? Some of these things are not planned by you. It's kind of like they just happen, right? So luckily, my neighbor was a programmer who was in demand, and he was getting way more work than he could handle. So over the years, he had been hearing that I also was learning how to program. So he put two and two together, and he referred me a client that he couldn't handle. So it was a different market back then. Once again, I want to emphasize that there wasn't the world of vibe coding and AI agents that can code, right? So I think nowadays, if somebody wants to build an MVP, I think this gentleman wouldn't have asked a human to do it. He would have gone to a website, maybe like Lovable or V0, or maybe he would have vibe coded it with Claude Code. You know what I mean? So we live in a different world. So that's another thing too is you have to adapt in business, right? So things that worked
Tad,
5 years ago that work.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting the shifting and the changes that we're living right now. But for Tad Duval, what's gonna be the intersection? Because I have myself. I experience with Lovable right now. I have like from 1 year ago working with Lovable. I first began with an education app and then turning to a bookkeeping because it was one of the points that in my company uh, was generating more stuff to do in to make things better, to improve in my company. So that said, I just see the shifting right now as from Lovable. I just changed to Claude Code. So it was like having this perspective. I myself, I was a coder, like a basic coder from my college. I was with Borland Pascal, or and then C plus plus, something very not so professional and vague. Then I um, I see myself in this new world of AI and in vibe coding, and this is for entrepreneurs. Is like an aha moment, but I'm gonna tell you and rounding my thought in the question that I want to tell you, the intersection between when you have this project. So you are are working on that, are having like the thing is running, the product is running. Where is the intersection when you say, okay, I need the team. I need the team for this, for that, and leverage with AI. That's one important thing as an entrepreneur, because and I think for peace of mind as well, because we can see cases for one, two, or three founders and multi-million companies, but you don't have as a common human, you don't have the ability and the capacity and to have the same ability. So what's the shift in your perspective between, okay, you're yourself, and then I need a team, I need this product manager, or I need this person?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I probably am not the best person to ask about this because ever since I was very young, I mentioned my background is in music, right? So when I was a really young, I mean, I started playing music when I was probably like 11, 12. I don't know if you were playing music when that was, the time of your life. So what I'm hinting at here is when I was young, I was like spending a lot of time by myself practicing music. So I've always been somebody that was very like, to myself. I spent a lot of time by myself, growing up and even to this day. I mean, I'm the type of person that most of the day goes by and I'm literally just by myself. Whereas I think other people, they wake up and like the first thing is they're like, okay, they meet with their team, whether that's their professional team, their business team, or it's like their life team and like their family. You know what I mean? This is something I need to get better at because it's not good to be so alone all the time. But it's my nature, it's my tendency. My tendency is to is just to be by myself. So, but
Yeah,
anyhow, so
that's one of
I.
That's one of the things. I am an only child, Tad, and I've
Uh,
been by myself. It was so everything,
uh,
and for me, Tad
uh,
Duval, for me, Simon
yeah,
Davila, it's very hard to see to get to the meetup groups and say, okay, I'm gonna go there and make things and meet with people. It's like going out of my comfort zone, and that's really a challenge. I think we humans are we need challenges, but that's something you it's something that every person is different. It's like the nature of everyone. It's completely different, and in you actually one of my purposes, something that I wrote in December. I need to go there more as uh, whatever I'm doing. I gotta make more connections this year. I told myself in December, but well, that's something is not easy, but you should overcome that. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So as far as I mean, I definitely see the value of team. Obviously, when I'm doing work for clients, right? When I'm serving clients, in a nutshell, obviously it's depending on the level of formality and how far it goes. But in a sense, I'm augmenting their team, right? We're working together. So I am providing value, and obviously they're providing value likewise, whether that's in monetary forms or other forms. But that's what business is all about. Business is all about combining forces to make something bigger, right? So it's all about teamwork. That's core to business. But as far as how that looks, like I said, I can say for myself, I'm I'm somebody who would be classified as a solopreneur, right? So I can say that with AI, undoubtedly, for the field that I have dedicated most of my time to in the professional world, AI is an amplifier. But then again, it comes back to the fact that everybody's also getting amplified. So you need more than that than to stand
Oh,
out, right? So then
you
the
know,
differentiator, right?
yeah,
So,
Tad. One of the one coder I was in contact the one of these days for my project for this CRM that I'm developing right now, and he's a coder. He's from many years ago, so much experience, and he say, okay, yeah, you're leveraging with cloud code, and that's good, that's good, but you need to be aware or to be careful with hallucinations, because sometimes that can be how in your case, Tad, this thing, well, having this sometimes the problems like that, like hallucinations, or we know that the models are always getting better and better and better by the time, and actually that's something that we as entrepreneurs, we gotta be aware of that, but we need to actually be aware of what we're doing, what is the model doing for us, being very conscious in that, what are the limits of the job that or the workflow that we're automating. In your case, what was the first workflow you automate for your company?
um, yeah, I mean, trying to think of one that was like a really high leverage automation that I've done. I mean, definitely coding. I mean, when you're making a feature, rewind pre 2022, 2021, you'd have to sit down in order to hand code that feature, right? You would go file by file, line by line. AI is so good now where you can take the feature description, hand it off to the coding agent, and the coding agent will do it in like 3 or 4 minutes, you know? Obviously, you have to audit it, but you had to do that before, right? So, you know, if you're somebody who I guess coded prior to all of the coding agents and LLM technology, I mean, this stuff is really powerful. It's like you don't have to type it anymore. You can delegate all of that work and it's done much more quickly by the LLM technology. But another one that's more practical that I actually use, hmm, I mean, I have a lot of them, but I'm trying to think of one that's been like overwhelmingly like value additive in a business term. But let me just go down. I could show you some demos of some of the ones that I have. Like, is that a good segue to maybe I can share my screen and I can show you the ones that I do, or do you want to go in a different direction?
Yeah, yeah, whatever. It's good. If you want to show something, that's okay. That's perfect.
Am I sharing my screen right now? Have I been
I
sharing my
think
screen
so.
the whole
Yeah,
time?
yeah, yeah. You have
Oh,
your
wow.
screen there.
Oh, okay. Um, so I have one, but yeah, some of this stuff is like, okay, how do I show it in a way that's not going to be exposing information? So let me have this on the other screen, and I can just double check to make sure I don't show anything sensitive before I show it to everybody. So I have, I think, one or two that I use N8N for, and I'm not a proponent of any particular tool. I'm more of understanding the principle and implementing it in whichever way is easiest for you. But N8N was very popular, especially last year. So I still have one or two things that I use it for. So here I'm logging in. I think I have one or two. Okay,
Sometimes,
so
I have. I was with Lovable. I was thinking to the Replit and the Codex. For you, what's gonna be like some kind of difference between because when I transition to cloud code, you have this environment which is more do it by yourself. It's not like so very hands off like the other platforms, but for yourself, in your perspective, Tad, what's this kind of what is the type of user that's gonna be better for to keep using something like Lovable or Replit or whatever other or going into the cloud code, because when we gotta be very mindful, because when you transition to cloud code, it's gonna be more hands on you. You gotta be aware of the GitHub. You gotta be aware of your, or where are the repositories in. So it's somehow another world. What do you think about that before you get into your stuff?
yeah, of course. So yeah, I think even though AI is changing the game, I think it's with most things, right? I mean, you have things that come and change the game, and the game is different after this technology gets introduced, right? But I still think fundamentals are important, right? So learning how to use Git, right? Or if you're going to use GitHub on top of Git, right? So Git, for those who don't know, is a software that's used to track all of the changes made to code, right? So when you're doing vibe coding, you're going to be asking AI agents, right? AI coding agents. You're going to be asking AI to write code for you. And based on the things that you prompt it to do, it might write a lot of code. And humans, right, have been coding for many years, for decades. And humans make errors, right? So you add some code, and lo and behold, you find it causes some issue. So this also happens with AI. And also sometimes you write the correct code at the moment, but circumstances change and you find out that it's not the exact code that's needed, right? So by
You
its
know
nature,
that. So sorry to interrupt you. You
of
know
course,
that what one of the things that one of these days, the last days, I've been struggling with claw code. It's like you make changes, and the thing is not sometimes it's not merging between GitHub and Vercel. In my case, I'm using Vercel for the cloud version of the project, so to
yeah.
storage the project. And then sometimes is not the project is not merged in one side in another. And one of the things also is the changes that you gotta be doing sometimes by yourself in the SQL from Supabase. So some of those stuff sometimes no, but it's you need to apply this change in Supabase because and then you see yourself like instead of having an agent, then you have a chatbot that's telling you what to do. And then I reply to the agent. Okay, are you an agent or am I or are you a chat? That was one of my questions to Claude Code in this session. And then yeah, you're right. Then I'm gonna do it. And then he do it when he's when actually have the permission to do it. But sometimes those barriers are there, and you need to figure out, you know.
So yeah, I have this project, for example. So yeah, I guess once again, the initial question I think that you were hinting at is like, what's the benefit or pros of using an approach like Lovable or maybe Replit versus maybe Cloud Code, and then kind of like getting a sense for the strengths of each one. I would say a lot of this technology and a lot of these platforms have a lot of overlap with each other, right? So you can get started with whichever one you gravitate towards, right? I think ultimately what people find once they've been, in this technology for a couple weeks or a couple months, they start to feel the costs, right? Either from monetary standpoints with the tokens they're paying or with the time that they're spending, right? Because yes, AI is incredible,
I
right?
was from $100 in Lovable. I was yeah, $100, and then they 100 plus more tokens because
Yeah.
the tokens for the $100 were not enough. So I should more token, and then I get sick and tired of that. And then now I am right now $20 with with Clock Code
That's what
and
people realize.
some other couple bucks for the cloud for the cloud infrastructure and something. And I know I'm gonna have to pay more for Supabase when the project goes on. But it's pretty much better.
Yeah, I think that's what drives people. I think, let's be honest, I think they realize with some of the platforms is the cost and the time is not the most optimal. And then I think what people settle on eventually is like, fuck all of these tools. I'm just gonna use Claude. Like, because Claude, once you learn how to use it, it has a lot of packed in. for a fixed rate, right? They have the $20 plan, and you get so much. It's insane if you learn how to use it. You get so much with the $20 plan, and it's capped, it's fixed. And Anthropic can do that because they own the model, right? The other companies, they don't own the base AI model, so they have to subject their customers to the same pricing model that they are
They're,
subjected
yeah,
to, right?
they're like resellers,
Exactly,
actually.
that's what it is. So with Claude and these, if you can, and there's ways you can get even cheaper if you want to go really down the rabbit hole. There's companies in China that have really competitive LLMs as well. If you want to go even further down the rabbit hole, where they're 10 times cheaper than Anthropic, right? So there's GLM, I think 4.1. This is popping off right now. There was DeepSeek a couple months ago that was popular, but anyhow, I don't use these models, so I'm not going to advocate for this. But what I'm getting at is,
And actually,
yeah,
I was I subscribed one of these days, like 1 month ago. I subscribed to Gemini, and for me, Gemini was like, yeah, I can do it all. I can do it all. Are you an agent? You really, are you really an agent that can help me with my project and do this and do that? Yes, yeah, everything. And then after that, I was just getting just the value, the storage, the meetings and so on. But I don't see, like, for Gemini, I don't see the value. I don't see it like a great agent. I don't know by your side, but by my side, I think I'm gonna downgrade again.
so you're paying for a Gemini right now, and you're thinking about
Yeah,
letting
yeah, I'm
that go.
paying. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think once again it comes back to the costs because us people who are on the streets here in Miami, right? It's just like we're not getting these billion-dollar investments from I don't know who has this money. I'm like I'm on social media every couple of weeks. I'm like whoever's giving Anthropic all of this money, can I please have like $1 million too? Like where is this money coming from? Like it's insane. Um, but yeah, super well funded companies. Obviously, when you have that level of money, you think differently, right? But for us who are here on the streets, not in the center of where the infrastructure of all this technology is being built and funded by, like I said, I don't know where this money's coming from, but we're more cost sensitive, right? And I think once you get deeper in the technology, you're kind of like making a decision, right? It's just like, okay, do I really need this? And then Claude is making it, like I said, it's making it so overly easy for many people because they realize for 20 bucks, and then for someone like me, I'm using Max, right? So I go 100 bucks, but for 100 bucks, it's like, they have Cursor, right? Which is amazing as well. I was using Cursor, but Cursor, it's like, trying to remember how much I was paying. I think I was paying like $250 a month, right? And I was using Claude through Cursor, right? So I'm like, now I'm using VS Code as my editor, which is free, with the $100 per month Claude plan, right? And that's another reason why now you understand the strategy. I don't know if you saw the news. Cursor was acquired by SpaceX, and now Cursor is making their own model so that they don't have to resell tokens through Anthropic or OpenAI, right? So they're going to own the whole stack now, right? With the partnership that they're doing with Elon Musk and SpaceX. So SpaceX now owns Cursor, and they're developing their own model so that they can do what Anthropic is doing, which they can have the price lower because they don't have to pay per token costs to the other companies to supply the agentic thinking, right? For all the coding, they have their own.
Yeah.
So, but then again,
Well,
then it goes to another battle. The battle shifts from, the battle shifts to who has the hardware now, and now the bottleneck is becoming who owns the chips, who owns the manufacturing processes, right? So, as far as you know, I think it ultimately comes back to as far as who owns the manufacturing processes, who owns the fundamental chip technology, right? And now you get back to the big companies, right? The Nvidias, Apple, I think, is manufacturing some of the chips. Intel's, AMD's, and then below these chip manufacturers, you have the companies that supply the electronic components for the chips, like the TSMCs, right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but I need to learn more about this world because when you're making bets on AI, these are like, from my understanding, if you're looking to invest in AI, these are the companies that are like, okay, like, well, it doesn't matter what happens with AI, we're going to need more chips. This is the only company in the world that produces this component of this chip, right? So no matter what happens, if I have stocks in them, it'll go up in price. It's sort of like with Ethereum. I know that you were coming from the crypto world maybe a couple of years ago. That was what's super hot during COVID. But it's like all this stuff was happening on top of Ethereum. And it's like, okay, I don't know what's going to win, what's going to lose, what's going to be gone in a couple of years, but let me just put some money into Ethereum. No matter what happens, all of these projects need to use Ethereum in order for them to function, right? So I don't know. And then same thing with
That's
Bitcoin
one
too.
that's one of the yeah, that's one of the shift, the new economy, the new technologies. And this podcast, it's really today it's getting small, very very small for all the stuff that we should cover in this podcast. I wish I can have you other podcasts as well with us here in 305 Office, Business Intelligence, Tad Duval, the closing message, because well we're out of time, unfortunately, but closing message for Tad Duval. And I hope, again, I hope I can have you other opportunities, other podcasts here with us, Tad.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love this opportunity. It's good practice. We woke up first thing. Here we are, probably a little bit rusty. We probably should have eaten breakfast before we started. Maybe would have been a little bit more fresh, but it's good to get practice. So, as many times as I can be invited, I will join every single time. It's great practice for public speaking, which is another great tool in the AI age because once again, you have to go back to these tools are great, but they're amplifying everybody in the same ways. So you have to think of which ways can I stand out above all of this amplification even more, right? So a big strategy is doing in-person events, having great relationships with people, learning how to do public speaking, learning how to be really great and engaging in live settings because AI or technology in general can't not compete with live, right? Live has happened, right? If the live is great, why are people going to then look at the AI knockoff after? It's already happened, right? So
one
you have to
one friend
like get better at these new skills,
Yeah,
right?
one friend told me, okay, AI is not gonna replace your work. It's gonna replace your work somebody that really ha know how to use AI better than you.
Yep. Yeah. Like it's like if you're competing against someone with the same tools, you have to learn how to use them better, right? So yeah, I mean, but the game is shifting. As you know, the game is different now compared to a couple years ago. So we're adapting. And I think my strategy is just to have as many opportunities like this. And we do the monthly meetup. We have AI masterclass sessions happening once a month here in Miami. And the idea is just to be consistent, do them every single month, show up every single month, right? And we learn a little bit every month, a little bit every month, and then this starts to compound, right? You start to get competitive advantage because as each month goes by, you learn a little bit more than the rest of the people in the market, a little bit more, and then over time, a year goes by, you know this much more about AI than everybody else, and
Yeah,
then hopefully that gives you a edge. So
yep,
keeping it simple,
absolutely.
keeping it simple.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tad Duval, for being there. 305 Office Business Podcast. Thank you for being there as well. And hit the like button and subscribing to this channel.